This podcast reflects my personal experiences and reflections as an adoptee. I am not a therapist or a mental health professional, and nothing here is meant to replace professional support. Some of the topics I explore may bring up difficult emotions and memories. If you find yourself needing more support, I encourage you to reach out to a therapist, counselor, or trusted person in your life. Welcome to Coming Home, a podcast dedicated to healing through exploring and celebrating childhood memories in adulthood. I am the host, Augie Sanchez. In the podcast titled Mi Abuelita, I talked about how my mommy had validated the memory, the impression of my abuelita. And knowing I had this memory of this beautiful, weathered, elderly woman with a head wrap looking at me with such love and such pride, and not really knowing where that was coming from until I was able to reconnect with my birth mother and ask her a few questions. And one of them was about this woman that I really believed in my heart to be my abuelita, and turned out that she was. It is always amazing to me how our memories get stored in our bodies. I just feel her love even now as I think about her, and just feel the impression of warmth all over my body. Two years ago, I wrote a children's book titled Maya, A Life Before Adoption. And the book was based upon my childhood memories prior to being adopted. And there was a memory that I had. In my illustrations, I had one page dedicated to a coffee plantation. And in the story, I wrote about how Maya's father owned a coffee plantation and how he cared for it. I did not realize how connected I was to that illustration. So let me take you back a few years prior to that. And I was taking a class on writing, I believe. And so we were given the assignment to write a story. And my story was based upon a coffee bean falling to the floor in a coffee shop. And as the person picked up the coffee bean, they were transported to Central America, and they watched as the coffee plantation owner woke up and started his day and woke his son up so that they could tend to the fields. And the story just went on talking about how this man knew how to care for the land, how he nurtured the plants, and how he grew the coffee beans. And I wish I had that story. I don't know what exactly I did with it, but I still remember it very clearly. Not fully, but a majority of it I can remember. So coming back to today, I had reached out to my mommy and asked her what my abuelos did for a living. And she told me that my abuelo His name was Presentation, and he had cattle. He was a cattle herder, and he owned a coffee plantation. Now, when she responded with that, it just made sense to me. It was like a piece of the puzzle of my identity that connected to the other parts of me that were trying to make sense of why I felt so connected to the idea of a coffee plantation. And so when I think about my abuelo, I sense a presence, a love. It's not like my abuela, but it feels like security and love. And knowing now that he owned a coffee plantation, it just feels so confirming in me. When I moved and my daughters left the house because they're adults, I had really wanted to start taking care of plants, and not just any plants, but vibrant, beautiful, tropical looking plants. I haven't found them yet, but I do have plants and I do love taking care of them. And eventually, maybe one day, I'll explore planting fruits and vegetables in my backyard. When I think about wanting to be a gardener, I wonder if it is because it's internally ingrained in me to want to cultivate something that will produce. After I read my mommy's response about my abuelo, I think maybe 2 or 3 days later, a grief came over me, a sadness, because she doesn't talk about my abuelos unless I ask. When I reconnected with my birth brothers and sister, they never met my abuelos. And nobody is tending to the coffee plantation. And I thought, that is such a great loss. Something that could be passed down to the future generations is not even available. And so, whatever he did with the resources and with the land, they're no longer there. And that saddens me. At the same time, I know that I can also do something to honor my abuelo in a little way that just reminds me that he's still with me. And so I have indoor plants. That is my caretaking of Earth. As an immigrant, there is a sense of loss that I feel like in my adult life, I have to choose to become curious. I have to choose to desire, to learn, and to grow in those areas that have been validated to me instead of allowing for sadness and grief to overwhelm me. Because life continues to move forward. And with the knowledge that I now have, I can at least say that the puzzle pieces are coming together. I can use that knowledge and start to plant my own seeds of inheritance, of legacy, of leaving a little part of myself, whether it's through having indoor plants, whether it's through painting or writing children's books based upon my childhood memories, or maybe going into the community and help gardening, something that I can do to carry that ancestral echo to let them know I hear you and I continue to build. What is a way you can take a memory, something that has been affirmed in you from your ancestry, and seed it, grow it in the ground of your heart, water it with love, and see it sprout forth? What does that look like to you? In the last podcast titled, no, sorry. Okay, hold on. And I can use those resources. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. If you find value in the Coming Home podcast, financial gifts would be greatly appreciated. I am a one-woman network, and you can send your financial gift through Cash App